Think for me, would you? You're an anime fan. You have seen a fair few shows and are looking for more to help fill that empty void inside of you. You have very little human interaction in life, as is customary for anime fans, and decide to check out an anime recommendations video or an article, and everything they recommend is stuff literally everybody has already seen. Well, can't say the same hasn't happened to me. So here are some anime recommendations from me to all of you. Not all these shows are necessarily narrative masterpieces or the greatest works of fiction, but they are at the very least good shows, and stuff that exists in relative obscurity. Not necessarily stuff nobody has heard of before, but not the really popular stuff either. I also recommend you to like and subscribe, or I'll show up at your place and pop you in the back of the head with a 12-gauge shotgun. You're welcome. Konohoto Tomare. 2 seasons, 13 episodes each. Season 1 released in the spring of 2019 by Studio Platinum Vision. I recently came upon the realization that I've seen a decent amount of music anime, so I wanted to recommend at least one such show. While shows like K-On! And Your Lie in April are about as popular as Jesus himself, I'd like to draw your attention towards Konohoto Tomare, featuring the traditional Japanese instrument, the koto. Now, a lot of people I'm familiar with will swear on their lives that the manga counterpart is superior, but call me foolish, call me arrogant, call me a lunatic, but I prefer my music series to have some actual music. You know, the stuff you can actually listen to. Now, I may be wrong, I may be harboring an incorrect assumption, so feel free to correct me, but I don't think you can listen to anything through the pages of a manga. You can play koto music in the background, I imagine, but that would not work. Sometimes the characters don't play well, sometimes they do. How do you arrange for all these different styles of music using general background music you find on YouTube? Anime, on the other hand, has this amazing thing, this marvel of human ingenuity. You may have heard of it. It's called a soundtrack, compiled by a team of experts in accordance to the music being displayed in the actual narrative. Thus, despite not having read the manga, I always have a hard time picturing how a music manga is superior to its anime counterpart. Even if it is though, I can assure you the anime is still quite good, provided you enjoy decent character work with a bunch of slice of life to it. I realize this segment has gone on for way too long, so next. Recreators. 22 episodes released in the spring of 2017 by Studio Troika. Look, yes, this show could be a lot better than what it was, but let's not take anything away from it. It was still a good show, having a very unique approach towards the whole concept of fiction and storytelling, which did leave a large amount of untapped potential. They could have done a lot more with this unique concept and premise the show presented, but again, it was a lot of fun. Following this reverse isekai plot, I guess the light novel authors took switching up the isekai genre a little too literally, with all sorts of characters from various types of fictional stories, from mech users to gun-toting dudes, from magical girls to psychopaths, all finding their way to good old Japan and doing their thing. It also features music by Hiroyuki Sawano, who you may know from his work on Kishin Taisen Gigantic Formula, and a few other shows which are not that important, continuing his obsession with anything that has a moving robot in it. Titans are technically flesh mechs. Now that I've put that image in your head, I'll move on. Moral of the story, watch this if you want, it's also really well animated. Terror in Resonance. 11 episodes long, released in the summer of 2014 by Studio Mappa. Relatively more popular, to be very honest. I'm already going against the very premise of the video. I'm a great content creator, by the way, and still the fact that people mention Jujutsu Kaisen and God of High School more than this when talking about Mappa anime is more than enough reason to include this here. Terror in Resonance, in my humble opinion, is Mappa's best work. The narrative mainly takes place in 2 phases. The first being an intense session of mental gymnastics amongst the characters. The second phase is more character work oriented, following 2 kids, 12 and 9, not their ages, who are essentially terrorists, and a relatively normal girl, Lisa, who gets roped into their activities, weaving this compelling and engaging narrative, making you care about most parties involved, and featuring stellar direction from none other than the legendary Shinichiro Watanabe, the director of Cowboy Bebop and more. It also features more top-tier cuts of animations by various amazing artists, such as this cut of Pure Cinema by Park Sung-ho, and he'd go on to direct Jujutsu Kaisen and God of High School. See how I made it come full circle? I write good scripts and you should subscribe. This also has a beautiful soundtrack. I know I mentioned that not all the recommendations are necessarily masterpieces, but this one may just be. Long story short, watch it. It's very good. Braves of the Six Flowers. 12 episodes released in the summer of 2015 by Studio this, I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest. This show is not what it may appear to be at a first glance. It's more of a traitor among this godforsaken meme has ruined my humor. But it's more of a who within us, I didn't say the buzzwords, is the bad guy. What appears to be a generic power fantasy ends up as a decently intriguing mystery that is quite well crafted and presented. The light novel for this apparently discontinued abruptly. I had read the first 2 or 3 volumes and quite liked them, so it's a shame really. It'll most likely never get an animated sequel either, but it's a fun watch. If you're just looking for something that's not too complicated, but just complicated enough to be engaging. Not saying that not very complicated stuff isn't engaging, K-On! Exists. The vampire dies in no time. 12 episodes in length, released in the fall of 2021 by Studio Madhouse. Probably the most recent entry here, 2021 was an incredible year for anime. A really strong winter season followed by an even stronger spring and a very good summer. However, fall was a massive disappointment, but this show was a shining light, a beacon of hope in a season that otherwise really did fall off. Pun absolutely intended, quite proud of that one. This show is essentially what you'd call surreal comedy, although not quite on Nichijou levels, following the lead Ronald, a vampire hunter, and Draluk, a ridiculously weak but immortal vampire, and just the most precious armadillo, John. The show is essentially these and some more characters having enjoyable interactions and relatively classy comedy, for the most part. Directed by Hiroshi Kojima, the director of Hunter x Hunter, and animated by Madhouse or whatever's left of it, this is a stylistically strong show with a solid tone of comedy, just all around very enjoyable and one of my favorite shows from 2021. So that was it. Will you check out any of these shows? Have you already seen some or all of my recommendations? Comment down below. Absolutely positively do not forget to hit a like and subscribe if you did happen to enjoy. And until next time.